A scream pierced the darkness. No explanation, no context. Just a scream that ripped the quiet house apart at 3 in the morning. Catherine Ford, 7 months pregnant, stumbled down the marble staircase. She tried to steady herself, but her knees buckled on the cold steps. A gloved hand shoved her from behind, hard. She fell forward. Her world tumbled in slow motion. She hit the floor with a sickening thud, pain exploding across her lower back. Through a haze, she heard footsteps fleeing. Then everything went black. When she woke, she was in an ambulance. Sirens wailed. Bright lights seared her vision. An EMT's voice cut through the noise. "Stay with me, Mrs. Ford. The baby, are you feeling contractions?" She tried to speak, but no sound came out. Her mind spun. Nicholas. She tried to picture her husband's face, but all she saw was the smirk of the faceless intruder behind that glove. They said her name again, Mrs. Ford. Blinking, she finally forced out a whisper. "The baby." She clutched her stomach, terrified something had happened to her child. Pain radiated through every nerve. Then the doors swung open, hospital lights flashing overhead. Gurney wheels rattled. Voices rose in urgency. "She's losing blood pressure. Prep for an emergency C-section." Her mind drifted. She thought of Nicholas Ford, powerful billionaire, the man she'd married for love before his ambition took over every moment of their life. He wasn't here. He was probably locked in some midnight business call, or maybe with his top executives, discussing global expansions. Where was he now? With her and the baby at risk. Nurse pressed an oxygen mask to Catherine's face. She could barely form a coherent thought, but an urgent feeling bubbled up inside her. This isn't an accident. Someone tried to hurt me. They wanted me gone, but why? Who would do such a thing? Her body trembled, a coldness creeping into her limbs. She heard the beep of a heart monitor. The lights blurred. In the swirl of chaos, the final thing she remembered was the nurse shouting to the surgical team, "Her husband isn't answering. We need to act now." Darkness closed in. In that final instant, Catherine felt a single tear escape. She wasn't sure if it was from pain or heartbreak or both. Then her consciousness slipped away. The last coherent thought hammered in her head. Why didn't he pick up? A sudden cut to black. This is how everything changed. If you think this moment is shocking, hold on, because the real nightmare is just beginning. When Catherine opened her eyes again, the glaring hospital lights stung. She felt hollow, like a piece of her had been carved away. Her body ached, and a deep worry gnawed at her thoughts. Is my baby safe? She tried to move, but a nurse gently pushed her shoulder down. Don't strain yourself, Miss Ford. The nurse's voice was quiet, empathetic. You just underwent an emergency operation. You have a beautiful baby boy in the NICU. He came early, but he's stable. Tears blurred Catherine's vision. Relief and fear merged. Early, stable, but so fragile. She swallowed hard, wanting to see her son more than anything. A soft knock at the door. She turned, expecting to see Nicholas. Instead, Jack Bryant, her husband's longtime friend and legal advisor, entered. He wore a worried expression. "Cat," he said gently, using her nickname. How are you feeling?" Her voice was raw. "Where's Nicholas?" I tried to call. Did he come?" Jack hesitated. His silence was an answer. Catherine's eyes closed. She shouldn't be surprised. Nicholas was often missing at critical moments these last few months, but this was their child. She never imagined he'd abandon them in a hospital. She clenched her fists. Jack cleared his throat. He's dealing with something urgent at the company, something more urgent than his wife nearly dying, than his newborn, she demanded, voice trembling with anger. Jack exhaled, pulling a chair next to her. "I'm sorry, Kat. He asked me to watch over you. There's a major crisis with a software patent, a possible hostile takeover bid from Donovan Pierce." Nicholas said he don't. Her voice cut through the room like ice. "I don't want to hear excuses." Silence. Catherine realized the nurse was still there, quietly adjusting her IV. The nurse's empathy felt sharper than a dagger. Catherine wanted to scream, "I'm not okay. Everything's wrong." But she stayed silent, pride swelling in her chest. Finally, Jack spoke again, more softly. "The doctors say it was an accidental fall. They said you might have slipped." She remembered the gloved hand. She pictured it clearly, but no one had seen it. No security camera had caught it. And Nicholas, nowhere to be found. She shook her head. "It wasn't an accident. I was pushed." Jack looked alarmed. "By who?" "I don't know," she whispered. "Someone was in the house." Jack's expression darkened. "All right. I'll get a private detective on this. We'll check the alarm logs, the security recordings." Catherine clenched her jaw. Security recordings. Good luck. Nicholas's system is top tier, but if he's not answering, I don't know how you'll get them. The nurse finished adjusting the IV and gently left. Catherine stared at Jack, eyes burning. "I want to see my son." He nodded. "I'll arrange it." As Jack stepped out, Catherine lay alone, anger and sorrow twisting inside her. She felt the sting of betrayal. She'd never felt so alone, so powerless. In that stillness, only one question rattled her thoughts. Who wanted me dead? 5 hours later, Catherine finally saw her baby. The NICU was hushed, filled with soft beeps and quiet nurses. Tiny newborns lay in incubators. Some wore little hats. Others had small IV lines. It was a fragile world. A nurse guided Catherine to an incubator labeled Baby Boy Ford. He was so small, less than 5 pounds. Tubes aided his breathing. Despite the tangle of wires, there was a stubborn determination in his tiny features. Catherine's heart melted. She carefully placed her hand inside the incubator's opening. The baby's fingers twitched, as if sensing her presence. A tear rolled down her cheek. "We'll get through this," she whispered. "I promise, boy." But even in this moment of tenderness, a chill of dread refused to leave her. She remembered the push, the rush of air as she tumbled. Someone wanted to harm her and, by extension, her child. Why, she sensed movement behind her. Turning, and she saw Lila Hayes, a junior legal associate from Nicholas's firm, approaching. Lila was always elegantly dressed, a bit too glamorous for a corporate lawyer. Catherine never fully trusted her. But now, boss, Lila had an apologetic look. "Catherine," she began softly, "I'm so sorry about all this. I came as soon as I heard." Catherine's gaze flicked to Lila's flawless hair, her fitted blouse. She wanted to bark. "Where is Nicholas?" But she kept her composure. "Thanks, Lila." "It's been awful," Catherine said, turning back to her baby. Lila stepped closer. "Nicholas is dealing with an investor meltdown. He can't get away. He asked me to give you this." She reached into her handbag and offered a single white envelope. "He said it's for your expenses. Anything you need." Catherine's lips parted in shock. "He sent money. That's his idea of support right now." She felt her pulse spike. Lila tried to maintain eye contact, but her gaze wavered. "He just wants to make sure you have no worries financially. The hospital bills, your personal comfort." Catherine forced a bitter laugh. "My husband is a billionaire. I doubt the hospital bill is his top concern. Tell him to show up for his son, that's what I need." Lila held up her hands in a calming gesture. "I'm not your enemy, Catherine. I'm just the messenger." For a moment, Catherine said nothing. Then she exhaled, her voice lower. "I know. Sorry. It's just, if he truly cared, he'd be here, behind them." Nurses moved quietly, adjusting monitors. The hush felt amplified, as though the entire NICU was eavesdropping on their tension. Finally, Catherine turned and gave Lila a long look. "I want to find out who pushed me. Nicholas thinks it's some random accident. I know it's not." Lila nodded. "Jack told me. He's hiring a private detective. We'll figure it out." Catherine lowered her voice. "Someone messed with the security system. I'm sure of it. You know Nicholas has set up 24/7 cameras, motion sensors, all top of the line. That footage should have explained everything, but apparently it's missing. Lila pressed her lips together. I'll do whatever I can to help, she said, stepping back. You just focus on healing and on this little fighter. As Lila left, Catherine rested her forehead against the incubator. The beep of her son's monitor filled her ears. She felt something dark swirling at the edges of her thoughts. Nicholas is absent. The security footage is gone. Someone wants her out of the picture, and she can't shake the suspicion that it might be someone inside their trusted circle. 2 days later, Catherine was released from the hospital earlier than she would have liked, but doctors needed her bed for more critical patients, and the baby was stable in the NICU. She promised to return daily. She walked out on shaky legs, wearing an oversized sweater, sunglasses hiding tearful eyes. Jack picked her up in a sleek black sedan. He tried to maintain small talk, but she was too raw. Instead, she stared out the window, the city lights blurring. She'd become a stranger in her own life. When they arrived at the Ford estate, Catherine felt a lump in her throat. This sprawling mansion was once her sanctuary. Now, every shadow felt menacing. Stepping inside the marble foyer, she half expected someone in black gloves to jump out. The memory of that violent shove haunted her. Jack followed with her bag. I've arranged for a private security detail, he said, his tone businesslike. They'll monitor the perimeter until we figure out who attacked you. Catherine paused, scanning the hall. It was eerily quiet. Usually, staff bustled around, cleaning or preparing meals. But not now. Where is everyone, she asked. Jack cleared his throat. Nicholas gave them some time off, said you needed rest. That made no sense. Catherine's brow furrowed. She wanted more eyes here, not fewer. Something about Nicholas's decisions felt off. Then again, he wasn't even around to explain. She walked into the living room. Photos of her wedding day lined a shelf, Catherine in a lace gown, Nicholas in a tailored tux. They both looked so happy back then. She swallowed the bittersweet sting. Everything changed when his business soared. Late-night calls, urgent flights, endless expansions. Now she was a footnote in his schedule. Jack gently touched her shoulder. I'll be in the guest room if you need anything. Try to get some rest. He retreated, leaving her standing in a silence that screamed betrayal. She moved through the mansion aimlessly. The air smelled of fresh-cut flowers, but also emptiness. Her chest tightened. She remembered the day she told Nicholas she was pregnant. He'd kissed her belly, promised he'd always be there. That promise felt like a cruel joke now. Wandering upstairs, she stopped at the top of the stairs where she'd fallen. Her hand brushed the railing. A chill crawled over her skin. It happened right here, a push from behind. She looked down, imagining how her body had slammed the steps. She felt an echo of that pain. Anger flickered. Her phone buzzed, jolting her from dark thoughts. A text from Nicholas. I'm away on urgent business. I'll try to be back soon. Don't worry about anything. Nick, her blood boiled. She typed a single reply. We need to talk. I almost died. She hovered over send, then decided not to. If he couldn't bother to show up in person, she wouldn't give him the courtesy of a text conversation. She locked the phone. The truth was, she didn't just want to talk. She wanted to rage. She wanted an explanation. She wanted justice. That evening, Catherine ventured into Nicholas's private study. She'd rarely gone inside. He guarded it like a vault. But her curiosity and desperation overshadowed any reservations. She needed answers. The study was sleek mahogany desk, glass shelves, abstract art. She flicked on a desk lamp. Papers were stacked methodically, as if waiting for someone's eyes. She recognized a few contracts, NDAs, financial statements, typical billionaire documents. Yet something else caught her eye, a separate locked drawer labeled archive. Catherine bit her lip. She fished in the desk's compartments until she found a small silver key. It fit. With a soft click, the drawer opened. Inside, she discovered a thick folder titled Project Ultranex, Confidential. She'd never heard of it. Flipping through pages, she saw references to patent disputes, prototypes, and big investment stakes. One page had Donovan Pierce's name scrawled across it, the competitor Jack mentioned, something about a takeover attempt. Another set of pages contained personal notes. Must secure board support at all costs. To Catherine's hospital bills overshadowing Q4 budgets. Need to keep them private. Her heart pounded. He was tracking the cost of her pregnancy, using it as a line item in his budgeting. Further in, she found an old photograph Nicholas in a cozy dinner setting with Lila Hayes. They looked comfortable, maybe too comfortable. This was from well before Catherine's accident. There was also an email printout. Looking forward to our next meeting. Lila. Her stomach twisted, gripping the folder. She stepped back, nearly tripping over a discarded briefcase. On impulse, she flipped the briefcase latches. Empty, but a faint perfume lingered inside floral, a hint of jasmine. Not her scent, Lila's perfume. Catherine remembered that distinctive fragrance from the NICU. She stared at the empty briefcase. Could Lila have used Nicholas's private study? If so, what else was she doing in here? Her heart hammered. She recalled Lila's apologetic eyes, her practiced empathy. Suddenly, Catherine questioned everything. She gently placed the documents back, closed the drawer, and relocked it. Then she sank into Nicholas's leather chair, her mind reeling. She thought back to how Lila arrived at the hospital so quickly, how Lila seemed to know details about the security system, how Lila offered an envelope of money, as if paying off a problem. Catherine's gut churned. Is Lila more than just an associate? Is she? Nicholas's mistress pain erupted in Catherine's chest at the possibility, but another voice whispered, that's not the biggest question. The bigger question is, could Lila have reason to push me down those stairs? A beep from the desk phone startled her. She pressed the speaker button. Jack's voice came through Cat. You okay? She inhaled, trying to steady her voice. Yeah, just thinking. Well, you've got a visitor. Detective Hayes from the local precinct. Funny coincidence, her name's Hayes too. Should I let her in? Catherine frowned. Yes, please. She stood, heart pounding. A detective named Hayes. She wondered if there was any relation to Lila. And why was law enforcement coming here now? Maybe they had new info on the break-in. Or maybe someone else had called them. Detective Andrea Hayes entered the study with a polite nod. She had a firm handshake and keen eyes that seemed to take in every detail at once. She wore plain clothes. No uniform, just a dark blazer and an air of authority. Thank you for meeting me on short notice. Mrs. Ford, the detective began. I've been assigned to look into your reported fall. Mr. Bryant said you suspect it wasn't an accident. Catherine folded her arms. It wasn't. Someone pushed me. Andrea studied Catherine's face. Did you see the person? No. They wore gloves. Dark clothing. It happened so fast. The detective pressed her lips together. That complicates matters. I was hoping your home's security footage might give us something. But it's missing. Catherine nodded bitterly. Convenient, isn't it? Andrea leaned against the desk. Do you or your husband have enemies? Business rivals, anyone who'd benefit from harming you? A flash of images. Donovan Pierce. The mention of Lila's private dinner. The folders in the drawer. Catherine hesitated, measuring her words. Nicholas is in a fierce competition with Donovan Pierce. There's a rumored hostile takeover. But would a corporate rival go so far? Andrea's gaze sharpened. Sometimes corporate warfare isn't just about money. If hurting you distracts your husband makes him lose focus, that's enough motive. Catherine ran a hand through her hair. She knew it was possible, yet something in her gut whispered that the betrayal was more personal. The detective produced a small notepad. I'll need a list of staff, security codes, schedules, anyone who accessed the house that night. Catherine nodded. Jack can get you that. As Andrea took notes, Catherine couldn't help noticing the detective's surname. She remembered the possibility that Lila was also a Hayes. The thought made her tense. She cleared her throat. Detective, you said your name is Hayes, Andrea nodded. Yes. Catherine hesitated. There's a woman in Nicholas's firm named Lila Hayes. Any relation to Andrea paused. We're sisters. A jolt shot through Catherine. So you know Lila. Are you close? Andrea's expression tightened. We used to be, not so much lately. She chose a different path. Catherine's suspicion flared. So you're aware of her involvement with my husband? She tested the waters, not sure how much the detective knew. Andrea sighed, her voice guarded. I know Lila's a driven attorney. She doesn't talk about her personal life much. Why you think she's connected to your fall? Catherine felt her chest constrict. She'd have to be careful. I don't have proof, but I suspect she's closer to Nicholas than I realize. She had access to his private study. She visited me in the hospital. There are signs, Andrea scribbled in her notepad. I see, I'll look into it. But please understand, I won't assume guilt just because she's my sister. I follow evidence. Mrs. Ford. That's it. Catherine nodded. I appreciate that. Andrea's gaze flickered to the locked drawer behind the desk. Mind if I ask what's in there? Catherine swallowed. Confidential business files. My husband's. I haven't looked thoroughly. The detective stared for a moment, then nodded. All right. For now, gather that staff list. I'll be in touch. As Andrea left, Catherine breathed shakily. She felt the ground shifting beneath her. The same last name. Hayes. Detective Hayes and Lila Hayes, two sisters on opposite sides of this twisted puzzle. Later that night, Catherine couldn't sleep. She wandered to the baby's unfinished nursery. She'd stopped decorating after the fall. The pastel walls were half painted, the crib unassembled. She stood there, imagining the life she'd hoped for a happy marriage, welcoming their child into a world of love. Footsteps sounded behind her. She turned, half expecting an intruder, but it was Jack, expression tense. What are you doing up? He asked quietly. She gave a hollow laugh. Hard to sleep with a bruised back and a missing husband. Jack frowned sympathetically. I just got off the phone with Nicholas. He's out of the country. Hong Kong, apparently. Some emergency meeting. Catherine rolled her eyes. Of course. Right when I need him most. Jack stuffed his hands in his pockets. He asked me to forward an account statement to you. To cover, well, anything. Catherine recognized the pattern. Another payoff. She pressed her lips together. He can't keep throwing money at problems. My baby's in the NICU. I was attacked. Does he even care? Jack lowered his gaze. Sometimes Nicholas is all about control. If he can't fix it with money or power, he panics. I think he's terrified. She studied Jack. Terrified or just indifferent. He looked away. I won't defend him, but I do know he's in deep trouble with Donovan Pierce. If that takeover succeeds, Nicholas loses half his empire. He's also being sued for patent infringement. His entire brand is on the line. Catherine felt a pang of conflicting emotions. She once admired Nicholas's ambition. She understood pressure, but not to the point of abandoning her. Or was it all bigger than she realized? Jack cleared his throat. Also, the detective called me. Catherine perked up. Andrea Hayes. He nodded. Yes. She's verifying if Lila had access to your house. Lila's been uncooperative so far. She claims she never visited the estate except once, weeks ago. Catherine's breath caught. She lied. She was in Nicholas's study. I smelled her perfume, saw her personal items. Jack frowned. This could get ugly. If Lila's intimately involved with Nicholas, maybe she has his codes, his login credentials. Enough to erase security footage. Catherine's mind whirled. But is that reason enough to push me down the stairs unless she thought I was in the way, or she felt threatened by the baby? Silence fell. It sounded insane, but Catherine couldn't deny the possibility. She felt her knees weaken, remembering the moment of that push. Jack placed a tentative hand on her shoulder. We'll figure it out. For now, try to rest. The detective will handle Lila. And about Nicholas. He hesitated. He might come around. Catherine stepped away, her gaze drifting to the half-painted wall. If he wanted to come around, he'd be here. She left the nursery, heart heavier than ever. As she walked back to her bedroom, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. A text read, "I have information about your accident. We should talk." Donovan Pierce. Her pulse spiked. Donovan, Nicholas's bitter rival, was reaching out to her directly. Now what? Catherine's hand trembled around her phone. Donovan Pierce, she'd heard the name countless times. A ruthless competitor with a reputation for hostile takeovers. Why was he contacting her? She typed back a single question. "What do you know?" A reply came within seconds. "Meet me tomorrow. Aurora Cafe, 2 p.m. Alone." She stared at the screen. It was risky, but if he had information about who pushed at her, maybe it was worth the risk. She didn't trust Donovan, but she needed answers. The next morning, Catherine visited the NICU first. She placed a gentle hand on her baby's incubator, whispering words of reassurance. He was still so small, but each day he showed signs of progress. She drew strength from him. She had to protect this child. By 2 p.m., she arrived at Aurora Cafe. It was a quiet corner spot with large windows overlooking a park. She scanned the room, spotting Donovan at a table in the back, slicked hair, crisp suit, eyes that gleamed with ambition. He stood when she approached, offering a polite yet cool smile. "Mrs. Ford," he greeted. "Thank you for coming." She sat, arms folded. "I want answers." "Start talking." He ordered coffee for both of them, ignoring her tense posture. "I'm not your enemy, Catherine. If anything, we have a common interest. You see, I want to push Nicholas out of the company. You presumably want to protect your family, but I have reason to believe someone else wants to destroy you both." She stiffened. "Destroy? So you claim you're not behind it," he chuckled. Darkly, "I don't do petty assaults. My battles are fought in boardrooms, not stairwells. I'm not a monster, just a businessman." She narrowed her eyes. "Then who?" Donovan leaned forward. "Let's talk about Lila Hayes. She's been your husband's close companion, but I suspect she's not acting alone. There's a bigger player behind the scenes. Lila is just the errand girl. She's working with someone who wants to sabotage Nicholas from the inside." Catherine's pulse kicked. "Who's pulling the strings?" He shrugged. "I have suspicions. Possibly a high-level partner at Ford Tech or someone in the medical field with ties to your personal life. Money is one motive, but there's more resentment, jealousy." She thought of Dr. Marion Stone, her obstetrician who'd once dropped odd hints about Nicholas's distractions. Could it be her, or was it someone else entirely? Donovan sipped his coffee. "I can't name names yet, not without proof. But your fall, that was a scare tactic. They want you or your baby out of the picture to push Nicholas into emotional chaos. That chaos helps them seize assets, patents, and power." Catherine felt nausea rising. "What do you get out of telling me this?" Donovan leaned back casually. "If Nicholas is dealing with a personal meltdown, it might expedite my takeover. Ironically, I'd benefit if you remain in danger. But there's a line I won't cross. Attempted murder of a pregnant woman? That's beyond business." His eyes flickered with something akin to sincerity. She wasn't sure if she believed him, but she sensed no immediate lie. He offered a card, "My private number. Keep me updated. And if you come across anything that implicates this hidden partner, let me know. We might help each other." She stood, taking the card hesitantly. "If I find out you're lying," he smirked. "I understand. You'll want blood. But trust me, Mrs. Ford, others are lying to you far worse than I ever could." Catherine left the cafe, heart pounding. She just struck a strange alliance with her husband's nemesis. Everything felt upside down. Is the enemy of my enemy my friend? She wasn't sure. But as her phone buzzed with an incoming call from Detective Hayes, Catherine realized she had no choice but to navigate these treacherous waters. "Catherine, it's Detective Hayes," came the serious tone on the other end. "We have a new lead. Can you come to the station?" Catherine exhaled. She just left Donovan. I'll be there in 20 minutes. When she arrived at the police station, she was escorted to a small interrogation room. Andrea Hayes was waiting, arms crossed. Catherine noticed that she looked uneasy, less composed than before. Andrea nodded in greeting. We questioned Lila. She claims she's never stepped foot in your home without permission, that she has no motive to harm you. She denies any affair with Nicholas. Catherine's jaw tightened. She's lying. Andrea studied her. I believe you, but her alibi checks out. She was at a charity gala the same night you fell. Multiple witnesses saw her. We also can't place her phone near your estate. She might have planned it, but maybe she didn't do the actual push. Catherine's mind raced. So maybe Lila has an accomplice. Andrea nodded slowly. That's likely. And we found something else. Lila's personal banking logs show a large deposit from an unknown source, then a transfer of nearly half that amount to a hospital staff member named Carol Dresner. Catherine's eyes widened. Hospital staff, that's my hospital. Carol, she's a nurse or administrator. Andrea checked her notes. A ward clerk. She had limited clearance to patient records, possibly NICU logs. That might tie into your baby's situation or your medical info. If Lila's paying hospital staff, it could be about forging records or controlling who sees what. A shiver ran through Catherine. What are you going to do? Andrea frowned. We tried to talk to Carol. She resigned abruptly last week and vanished. The trail is cold. Despair tugged at Catherine's heart. Every time she got closer, the puzzle just expanded. Could Carol have tampered with my medical charts or my baby's condition? Andrea shrugged. Possible. We're investigating. Meanwhile, I suggest being cautious with your NICU visits. Let the staff know not to let anyone near your son unless you approve. Catherine pressed her lips together, thinking of her tiny newborn. The idea that someone might harm him in the hospital made her stomach churn. Andrea continued, I also want to warn you. Lila is furious that I'm investigating her. She claims I'm biased. She's threatened to file a complaint against me. Catherine exhaled, a mixture of frustration and sympathy for Andrea's position. She's your sister. This can't be easy. Andrea's eyes hardened. Blood ties mean nothing if a crime's been committed. She lowered her voice. Look, I can't hold her on suspicion alone. I need evidence. A direct link to the break-in or the push. We don't have that yet. Catherine nodded, swallowing her dread. I'll do whatever it takes to help. I won't let them get away with this. Andrea placed a hand on her shoulder in a rare show of support. Stay vigilant. Don't trust anyone. If they've come this far, they might escalate. Catherine walked out of the station with her heart hammering. She realized there was no going back. The safer path, staying quiet, letting Nicholas handle everything, was no longer an option. She had a baby to protect, and she was done being a victim. Night fell like a heavy curtain over the Ford estate. Catherine tried to sleep but failed. The house felt as if it were holding its breath. She got up, slipped on a robe, and made her way downstairs for some water. Halfway down, she froze. Light was spilling from under Nicholas's study door. Cautiously, she approached. Through the crack, she heard voices. One male, one female. She leaned closer, her heart thudding. The woman's voice was low, urgent. Catherine recognized it, Lila. Lila hissed, You said you'd handle it. She's still prying, going to the cops. The male voice responded, I did handle it. She was supposed to be out of commission. Catherine's blood turned to ice. Were they talking about her? She eased the door open a fraction, peering in. Under the soft lamplight, she saw Lila leaning over the desk, facing a man in a hoodie. Catherine couldn't see the man's face clearly. Not Nicholas. Someone else? Lila smacked the desk with her palm. Get rid of her for good. She's messing up our entire plan. And if she finds out the truth about the baby? The man interrupted. Relax. I'll finish what I started, but you need to deliver on your end. No more partial payments. I want it all. Catherine's pulse hammered. This had to be the intruder, the one who pushed her, and Lila was definitely orchestrating it. But the truth about the baby, did they do something to her baby in the hospital? Lila checked her phone and muttered, Nicholas is still overseas. Perfect. Let's make sure by the time he returns, there's no Catherine problem. Footsteps. They were moving. Catherine realized they were headed for the door. Panicking, she ducked behind a tall, potted plant. The door opened. She saw the man's sneakers first, then Lila's high heels. They stalked down the corridor together. Trembling, Catherine slid out from her hiding spot. She wanted to chase them, call the police, but they were already gone. Instead, she rushed into Nicholas's study. She flipped on the overhead light, scanning every corner. There, on the desk, she noticed a set of keys. Lila must have forgotten them. A monogram L.H. Catherine grabbed them, her heart racing. She had proof Lila was here unauthorized. But would that be enough to tie her to the push? She thought about calling Detective Hayes, but it was past midnight. Then again, this was urgent. She dialed anyway, straight to voicemail. Detective, it's Catherine. Lila's here. She's with a man. They're planning something. She faltered. She had no address, no direct evidence, just panic. Please call me back. Her hand shook as she ended the message. She braced herself against the desk, her breath ragged. Lila was dangerous, and she had an accomplice. Catherine's instincts screamed that Lila might strike again soon. Worse, that comment about the baby, Catherine's protective instincts flared. She had to keep her son safe at all costs. Right then, the phone on the desk rang. She jumped. Slowly, she picked it up. Hello, she whispered. A distorted voice replied, If you know what's good for you, Mrs. Ford, walk away, or you'll lose more than you already have. Click. Catherine's heartbeat thundered in her ears. Someone was threatening her on Nicholas's private line. She now knew one thing for sure. They were serious. They were close. And she was in far deeper danger than she'd realized. At dawn, Catherine raced to the hospital. She couldn't shake Lila's ominous words about the baby. She burst into the NICU, startling the nurse on duty. Her eyes scanned the rows of incubators until she found her son. He was still there, seemingly untouched. Monitors beeping steadily. Relief flooded her, but the nurse frowned. Mrs. Ford, are you all right? You look pale. Catherine forced a breath. I'm fine. I just need to check on him. As she stood beside the incubator, she noticed a new chart note. Something about an unusual drop in oxygen saturation overnight. Her heart pounded. She asked the nurse, What happened? The nurse hesitated. Dr. Marion Stone adjusted the ventilator. She said there was a minor complication, but it's stable now. Catherine's anxiety spiked. She remembered Donovan's words about a high-level partner with medical ties. Could Dr. Stone be in league with Lila? She stepped out into the corridor, phone in hand, trying Detective Hayes again. Still no answer. She left a second voicemail. Voice shaky, Detective. I think the doctor might be involved. Please call me back. Suddenly, a figure rounded the corner. Dr. Marion Stone. She wore scrubs, her dark hair tied back. A practiced smile formed. Catherine, I heard you rushed in. Everything is under control. Your baby's fine. Catherine forced a calm expression. I saw the chart. Oxygen drop. That's not normal. Dr. Stone gave a dismissive wave. Preemies often have fluctuations. I made a slight vent adjustment. He's responding well. Catherine studied Dr. Stone's face. She saw no guilt, no tension. But was it an act? You knew I was admitted for the fall. Do you recall seeing any suspicious staff or visitors around that night, Doctor? Stone's eyes flickered. I wasn't on your case that night. I just took over in the NICU afterward. Why Catherine fought the urge to accuse her outright. She had no solid proof, just an unsettling hunch. I'm just being cautious. Someone tampered with my security system. The same person might want to harm me or my baby. Dr. Stone paused, a look of concern crossing her features. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. If you need anything, I'm here. She placed a reassuring hand on Catherine's arm, then moved on. Catherine's gaze followed her down the corridor. Stone seemed caring, professional, but that could be a mask. She recalled Donovan's cryptic suggestion about a bigger player. Could Dr. Stone simply be a scapegoat? Or was she the puppet master? Stressed, Catherine turned back to the NICU. She realized she didn't even know who to trust among the medical staff. Fear for her child overshadowed her every thought. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Donovan Pierce. We need to meet again. I've uncovered something huge. Catherine's stomach churned. Another meeting with her husband's rival. Another secret conversation. She hated the idea, but desperation forced her hand. She typed back, "Where his reply Pierce Tower, 8 p.m. Bring any evidence you have." She clenched her phone. She was about to set foot in Pierce's domain, both figuratively and literally stepping into the enemy's lair. But if he had the missing piece to this conspiracy, she had no choice. She'd risk everything to protect her son, even if it meant making a deal with the devil. Catherine arrived at Pierce Tower at exactly 8 p.m. The imposing glass skyscraper dominated the city skyline. Inside, a silent receptionist buzzed her up to the top floor. An elevator ride that seemed endless. Anxiety gnawed at her insides. When the door slid open, Donovan stood waiting in a private lobby. He led her through a lavish corridor into a dimly lit conference room. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city lights. The grandeur was oppressive. "Catherine," he greeted, gesturing for her to sit at a polished mahogany table. "I appreciate you coming." She remained standing. Cut the small talk. "What did you find?" Donovan nodded. He slid a folder across the table. In it were emails, financial records, and photos. "This," he tapped a page, "is a chain of payments routed through an offshore account. The account belongs to Marion Stone, your NICU doctor. The sender, Lila Hayes." Catherine's jaw dropped. Stone and Lila, in collusion. Donovan's eyes gleamed. "Yes, Lila's been funneling money to Dr. Stone for months, possibly more. I suspect Dr. Stone was manipulating the baby's care, not necessarily to kill him, but to keep him in precarious condition, thus controlling you and, by extension, Nicholas. A prolonged hospital stay drains resources, distracts you. Nicholas's empire is vulnerable. Then they strike." Catherine felt sick. "So Dr. Stone is the bigger player. I had no idea." Donovan exhaled. "Stone is well respected, but apparently she's nursing a deep grudge. I've found references to a malpractice suit from years ago. She blamed Nicholas's legal team for tarnishing her career. Lila was a paralegal back then. They formed a partnership. Stone handles the medical sabotage. Lila handles the legal sabotage." Catherine dropped into a chair, mind spinning. "And you're sure?" He nodded gravely. "I had a contact trace the bank flows. Stone's been receiving monthly deposits that match Lila's. The final piece, Stone was on shift the night you fell. She could have tampered with security logs or bribed staff. Meanwhile, Lila orchestrated the infiltration. They hired a thug to push you. A neat plan, if you hadn't survived." Tears filled Catherine's eyes. "But she fought them. They used my baby as leverage." She clenched her fists. A fiery anger roared inside her. "I need to stop them, Donovan. They can't get away with this." He nodded, sliding over more documents. "Take these to the police. It should prove a criminal conspiracy." Catherine's eyes narrowed. "Why hand this to me? Why not just destroy Nicholas on your own? You said his meltdown aids your takeover." Donovan gazed at the city lights. "I want to defeat Nicholas in a fair corporate fight, not by endangering innocent lives. I have a code, twisted as that may sound." She studied his face, searching for deceit, but she saw only a cold determination. Maybe he truly wanted to preserve the moral high ground. "Thank you," she finally murmured. Collecting the folder, her heart still pounded with adrenaline. Before she could stand, he spoke again, voice low. "Be careful. If Stone and Lila sense you know, they might escalate. They've already tried once. Catherine nodded, swallowing dread. She'd confront them with the police at her side. She would not be alone. She couldn't be, not with her baby's life hanging in the balance. As she turned to leave, Donovan offered one last piece of advice. Trust no one else, not even your husband's best friend, not the staff, no one. They might have eyes everywhere. She glanced back. I won't, but one day, Donovan, I promise you I'll repay this favor. He smirked. We'll see, Mrs. Ford. We'll see. Catherine clutched the incriminating folder and walked into the elevator, her heart heavy but resolute. She was done being a pawn. Now she was ready to strike back. Within an hour, Catherine was at the police station again, this time meeting Detective Andrea Hayes in a back office room. She laid out the folder Donovan had given her: bank statements, emails, and suspicious notes tying Dr. Marion Stone and Lila Hayes together. Andrea's face paled as she read. This is incriminating. She pointed to the account numbers. They matched the partial data we found on Lila's finances. But Dr. Stone, she's a high-ranking physician. Are we sure these documents aren't forged? Catherine's eyes burned with urgency. Donovan Pierce is cunning, but I doubt he'd fake an entire paper trail. This is real. Lila and Stone conspired to ruin me and manipulate Nicholas. They tried to kill me, or at least make me lose the baby. My son is still in danger. Andrea gave a grim nod. All right, I'll contact my captain. We may need a warrant to search Dr. Stone's office and freeze Lila's accounts. Catherine exhaled in relief. Thank you. Let's move quickly. Andrea hesitated, guilt flickering in her eyes. Catherine, I have to ask. If Lila and Stone are arrested, it means testifying against my own sister. Are you fully prepared for the backlash? This is going to be huge, especially with your husband's company in the spotlight. Catherine steeled herself. Lila nearly destroyed my family. As for Nicholas, he's not here. I can't wait for him any longer. Andrea stood. Give me 2 hours. I'll coordinate a sting. Let's see if we can catch them in the act or at least serve them warrants simultaneously. Catherine nodded, a surge of hope lacing her fear. She headed home, ignoring the gnawing anxiety that something could go wrong. She tried to call Nicholas again, straight to voicemail. Again. She left a message. Nicholas, it's Catherine. I have evidence about who attacked me. Call me as soon as you get this. She ended the call, feeling an emptiness. Would Nicholas care? Or was he so buried under corporate battles that her near death and their baby's fragility ranked lower on his priority list? Exhausted, she dozed off on a couch in the living room. She woke to frantic knocking on the front door. Jack's voice echoed through the foyer. She opened the door to find him disheveled, hair sticking out. Cat, we have a crisis. The police are swarming Dr. Stone's office. She's implicated in a conspiracy, and Lila Hayes, my phone's blowing up. People think Nicholas orchestrated all this to sabotage the hospital's credibility. Investors are panicking. Catherine blinked, realization hitting the arrests were going public fast, and the media would spin it in every direction. Let them panic, Jack. Dr. Stone and Lila tried to kill me. They toyed with my baby's health. Jack raked his fingers through his hair. Nicholas's corporate meltdown is accelerating. Donovan Pierce just launched a hostile bid. The board is in chaos. Catherine felt a twinge of guilt, but also a steel resolve. Let them melt down. My child's life is more important than any board. Jack exhaled. So it's true, Stone and Lila actually... She nodded, tears in her eyes. Yes, I gave the police the proof. He shook his head in disbelief. I'm so sorry. Cat. She touched his shoulder, voice trembling. I just want them behind bars. Then I can focus on healing. I'll face the corporate fallout later. Jack's phone rang. He stepped aside to answer it. Catherine heard him speaking in hushed tones. Then he looked up at her, face ashen. Cat, Lila is missing. And Dr. Stone just posted bail. She's out. A chill ran down Catherine's spine. What do you mean, missing? She slipped away before they could serve the warrant. The detective can't find her. Terror clamped around Catherine's heart. Lila was on the loose. Dr. Stone was free, and the final confrontation was barreling toward them all. Catherine raced to the hospital, certain that if Lila or Dr. Stone were going to strike again, they might target her baby. She arrived to a scene of tense chaos. Police stood near the NICU doors, speaking urgently into radios. A nurse recognized Catherine and let her pass. She found Detective Andrea Hayes in the corridor. Andrea's face was grim. Dr. Stone came here an hour ago, claiming she needed to check on your son. Security tried to detain her, but she had legal documents stating she's still assigned to NICU patients. She threatened to sue if they interfered with her medical duties. Catherine's stomach clenched. My baby, where is he? Andrea led her into a side room. There was her infant, now in a portable incubator, with a different doctor and 2 nurses standing guard. He's safe, Catherine. We moved him out of Dr. Stone's supervision. Relief flooded Catherine's system. She approached the incubator, tears sliding down her cheeks. Thank you, Andrea spoke in a clipped tone. We have an APB out for Lila. She can't hide forever. But Stone is playing the system, claiming she's innocent and that the payments were for legitimate medical research. Without Lila's testimony, Stone could walk free. Catherine's frustration boiled. So everything I found means nothing if Lila's not caught. Andrea nodded solemnly. Stone's got top lawyers. She's fighting every angle. Unless Lila flips on her, the case is shaky. A sudden commotion erupted down the hallway. Catherine heard Ray's voices. She turned to see Nicholas Ford stepping off the elevator, flanked by 2 of his own security guards. Her heart lurched. Finally, Howie, he was here. Nicholas marched over, face ashen with rage. What the hell is going on? I land at the airport to a media storm about my wife pressing charges against my company's attorney and a respected doctor. The board is screaming about sabotage. Catherine, talk to me. She trembled with fury, relief and heartbreak all at once. Where have you been? She spat. They tried to kill me. Nicholas, they tampered with our child's care, and you were off expanding your empire. He faltered, glancing at the baby in the incubator. A flicker of guilt crossed his features. I'm sorry. I had no idea. I left Jack in charge. I thought Catherine's voice cracked. You thought money would fix everything. It doesn't. Lila Hayes and Dr. Stone were behind my attack. Donovan Pierce found evidence. I turned it over to the police. Now Stone is out on bail and Lila's on the run. Nicholas's jaw set. Donovan Pierce, you're working with him. She barked a bitter laugh. He helped me when you wouldn't. That's how low we've sunk. He ran a hand over his face. Pain etched in his eyes. I messed up. But I'm here now. I'll handle Lila and Stone. They won't harm you or our child again. Andrea cleared her throat. Mr. Ford, I appreciate your concern, but we need actual leads. Lila's in hiding, and Stone's lawyers are spinning a narrative. If you have anything to add, now's the time. Nicholas glanced at Catherine. Then he pulled out his phone. My private security team is tracking Lila's credit card usage. If she tries to buy a plane ticket or check into a hotel, we'll know. Catherine's grip on the incubator's edge tightened. She's dangerous. So is Dr. Stone. They have no reason left to hold back. Nicholas stepped closer, hesitating. Guilt bled into his voice. Catherine, I know I failed you, but I promise I'll stand by you now, whatever it takes. A tense silence followed. Catherine studied his face, wondering if it was too little, too late. Then the overhead speakers crackled with an urgent page code gray, NICU corridor. Code gray. Andrea's eyes widened. That's a security alert. Before anyone could move, a figure in a black hoodie appeared at the far end of the hallway, dashing toward an exit. One of the police officers gave chase. Catherine's heart pounded. Could that be Lila's thug, or Lila herself? In a flash, everything descended into chaos. Alarms blared through the corridor farm. Nurses hurried to lock down the NICU. Nicholas grabbed Catherine's arm protectively, and Detective Hayes sprinted with her colleagues to corner the intruder. Catherine glimpsed a frantic scuffle near the exit before the figure broke free and vanished. Minutes later, an officer returned, out of breath. They got away. Possibly Lila. Hard to confirm. Andrea cursed under her breath. We'll keep searching. We'll get them. She turned to Catherine. We have officers posted here around the clock now. Neither Stone nor Lila will get near your baby again. Catherine let out a trembling breath, hugging herself. Nicholas stood beside her, looking shaken for the first time. In that moment, they both realized how close danger truly was. Over the next week, the hospital remained on high alert. Dr. Stone was suspended, pending an investigation. Lila stayed off the grid. Nicholas used his resources to assist the police, paying for a specialized search team. Meanwhile, Catherine spent each day in the NICU with her son, swearing she would never leave his side again. Slowly, the baby improved. His oxygen levels stabilized. His weight crept up. Each tiny milestone felt like a miracle. Catherine found herself crying tears of gratitude, even as the rest of her life lay in tatters. One afternoon, Detective Hayes walked in wearing a weary smile. We caught a break. Lila tried to withdraw a large sum of cash from a small bank upstate. The teller recognized her from the bulletins. The police nabbed her in the parking lot. Catherine's pulse raced. So it's over. Andrea's expression held a hint of pity. She's in custody. Yes, she's already flipping on Dr. Stone. Claims Stone orchestrated everything out of revenge for an old lawsuit. Lila says Stone recruited her with promises of wealth and a better position once Nicholas's company collapsed. Nicholas, standing behind Catherine, muttered, I had no idea Stone resented me so deeply. She lost that lawsuit on her own negligence, but I guess she blamed me. Andrea nodded. Lila also admitted she hired a thug to push Catherine. She claims she never intended for you to die, just scare you into a miscarriage. In Stone's twisted plan, that would fracture you and Nicholas permanently, letting them seize control of your personal and corporate assets. Tears welled in Catherine's eyes. The cruelty was unimaginable. But now, at least, there was closure. Andrea added, with Lila's testimony, Stone will face attempted murder charges. She won't walk away from this. You can both breathe a little easier. A shuddering breath escaped Catherine's lips. She turned to Nicholas. He looked hollowed, beaten by guilt. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I should have been here. She nodded, eyes distant. Yes, you should have. She glanced at the tiny infant in the incubator. But right now, all that matters is he's safe. They stood there, the hum of medical machines pulsing around them. Catherine gently lifted their baby boy, cradling him in her arms for the first time without wires. A fierce love coursed through her. Nicholas reached out tentatively, his eyes full of regret. May I? She nodded, allowing him to rest his hand on the baby's back. For a fleeting moment, they were a family again, united by love and tragedy. Weeks passed. Dr. Stone was formally charged. Lila faced prison time. The thug who pushed Catherine took a plea deal, implicating them both. The media devoured the scandal, shaking the city's corporate and medical circles. Catherine's baby finally came home. She named him Ethan, a name meaning strength, because that's what she needed to survive. She had no illusions that her marriage was instantly healed, but she'd give Nicholas a chance to prove himself worthy of their child. She owed Ethan at least an attempt at a whole family. One crisp morning, Catherine stood on the estate balcony with Ethan in her arms. Nicholas beside her. Sunlight bathed them in warmth. She felt something akin to hope. She'd come so close to losing everything. Now she had the chance to rebuild. Nicholas quietly said, I want to make amends truly. Catherine gave him a small, cautious nod. Actions speak louder than words. He smiled sadly. I'll spend the rest of my life showing you. Inside the house, unobserved. A phone buzzed on the table. An anonymous text popped up. Thought you got rid of me. The game isn't over. M.S. Doctor. Marion Stone was still out there, orchestrating something from the shadows. The final card hadn't been played, and Catherine, she might not be done fighting.